Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the next episode of the Frisco Report. Today, we're going to talk about the 2020 NFL Draft, the Cowboys edition. All right. So here we go. We're going to talk about this. I got my co-host here jumping on here. Mike, what's up, Mike?
What's up, Joe? The draft is finally over, man. How you feeling?
Feeling great, man. Feeling really good about this. And, I couldn't be more excited about this draft, man. Everything just fell into place. We're going to go over our instant reaction to this draft class, Mike. So I want to get your reaction here as far as just like the overall, feel of this draft. What is your overall feeling on this?
The overall feel is that they knew defensive line and cornerback defensive end was an issue on this football team. They lose Randall Cobb. They took care of that. I mean, overall, I really think they boosted the defense side of the ball and added a dynamic piece to the offense side of the ball. Mike McCarthy, Will McClay, Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, the scouting department really put this draft board together, and they only had to trade up once to get a solid piece. I am amazed on how, number one, the virtual draft went, and number two, how the Dallas Cowboys really stuck to their board.
Yeah, it looks like they really did. They went, best player available with need. So, man, it just felt really good to have a draft class this good. There's been other draft classes where you're kind of like, man, I envy that draft. I wish I had, the Ravens draft class or something. But nah, I think a lot of other teams probably feel that about our draft class. It was a really good, strong draft right out the gate for Mike McCarthy. What a way to set the tone. You know what I mean? I know we're going through all this pandemic and everything, but man, Mike McCarthy working in conjunction with this new staff and Will McClay, this new scouting department, they set the tone, man. They set the tone, and I'm really, really pumped about this draft class.
It's a heck of one. I mean, and we talked about the corners. Who's going to be starting on corners, and they come out with Reggie Robinson, the second out of Tulsa. And I mean, the guy's dynamic. He's versatile. He can play on tight ends. He can play on slot wide receivers. If you need him to play strong safety, Joe, Reggie Robinson can do that too. So, I mean, there's a lot of pieces, and he can play special teams, punt return, kick return. Going into day 3, our show last night, I was like, they're going to take care of John Fossil. And with Reggie Robinson, they did that.
Yeah, Reggie Robinson, that was a good pick. Let's expand now, Mike, on this draft class. Let's go pick by pick. All right. In the first round, CeeDee Lamb, baby. What do you think about this pick, Mike? How he fits, and how do you feel about us landing him there at 17?
I feel great. I feel lucky as a fan. I can't wait to get his number 10 jersey when it drops. He's going to fit real well. Amari Cooper can play the slot. He can go to the X. Michael Gallup stay at the Y. There's a lot of pieces here, and a lot of people critique him about his route running ability. But that's overlooked because of his his yards after catch. But with Amari Cooper, as fluent as he is in route running, he can definitely help CeeDee Lamb in that category. That's just going to make CeeDee Lamb more explosive.
Yeah, it's you think about the opportunities, that this team is going to have in the red zone. We talk about, man, we had so many red zone problems, and it seems like that's been a problem for the Cowboys for a long time. I think they were hoping that Jason Witten would help out in that regard last season when he came back. And no, you just saw, the back end of Witten's career. He wasn't what they had hoped he was going to be. That's just a matter of fact. But now, I think you're leaning more on these receivers, not so much your tight end now. That we're moving away from that tight end needing to be your clutch red zone threat now. Pick your poison. All right. Is it going to be Amari Cooper? Is it going to be Gallup? Is it going to be CeeDee Lamb, who you and I have talked about this, yards after the catch, when this guy gets the ball in his hand, that's it. It's game over. So I think that's the best way to utilize CeeDee Lamb is to get him the ball, man. Just get it to him quick and let him do his thing after the catch, Mike. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean that's a great point, and a lot of the Mike McCarthy offense it is quick, and having a guy like CeeDee Lamb, I mean Dak was the third best in getting his hands out of the ball as quick as he can, like at 2.85 seconds in the National Football League. That's going to benefit CeeDee Lamb to make linebackers miss, get into the second level, and have those strong safety and free safeties pay for double covering Michael Gallup or Amari Cooper.
Yes, indeed. We're going to make them pay. All right. And you saw, the NFC East, some of the things, the moves that they made. I just feel like, it's there's no way, I mean, I I feel good about going up against these defenses. Chase Young, I'm not even scared about that. I'm interested to see how he takes the coaching from Ron Rivera. He's going to get coached hard. It's a little bit different than what he's gotten at Ohio State. So that'll be interesting to watch. But, you talk about the Eagles, the Giants, they struggle to slow our offense down with just Gallup and Amari Cooper. And you throw in CeeDee Lamb in the mix. Wow. I think we're in for some good offensive production. No more, field goal wars. We talk about that where we can't get into the red zone and we have to settle for a missed field goal at that with Maher, but now we got two kickers now. So, things are looking up and up for this offense. All of a sudden we got this injection right into our arm. And on paper, it looks very, very promising, Mike. Okay.
That's the key word right there. On paper, that is the key word. Now this coach staff has to get that paper and put it to work. It's almost like a construction site. They got blueprints. It's just a piece of paper. They got to go build it, and they can't have any errors.
That's right. That's right. Moving on, Mike, to the second round. All right. Again, the Cowboys stayed put at 51. We saw a lot of names come off the board. We saw McKinney, some of these other names that were associated with the Cowboys. And Trevon Diggs, the athletic, first round graded cornerback, falls in our lap at 50. We didn't have to move or anything. He finds a lot. What do you think about Trevon Diggs there in the second round, Mike?
Tall corner, great weight for a corner at 6'1", 205. The competition, it's there, all right? The Dallas Cowboys are going to have the best 2 to 3 corners on the field at any given moment of any game. Why? Because they added Trevon Diggs from Alabama, Joe. Just the elite height, the elite weight, the elite length. I mean, everything about this guy dropping to us at 51 still amazes me as I'm talking about Trevon Diggs from Alabama.
Yeah, Trevon Diggs, athletic. He's got the bloodlines. His brother, Stephon, obviously just got traded to the Buffalo Bills. But we're looking at these players and how they're going to fit into the scheme, into the defense. Trevon Diggs, I feel like he's gonna, he's gonna play opposite Cheeto. Wuzier, there's a need there now, so he'll probably compete with Anthony Brown. But that's not to say that these guys won't have an open competition and just start from scratch. You know what I mean? So this coaching staff, really has no allegiance to these players that he did not draft. And Mike McCarthy went up against these guys. You have to remember that. So he knows, game planning against the defense. Mike McCarthy knew, okay, whenever we played them in the playoffs or in the regular season, he knew, okay, we're going to run this way. They're weak here. Tyron Crawford's too slow. We can let Aaron Rodgers, get out of the pocket on Tyron Crawford's side and do his damage, And you kind of saw that in the playoff game. It's he hits a strike to the tight end on Byron Jones. But the point is, he knows some of the players on this defense, what their weaknesses are, because he dissected them and knows their weaknesses. So I do like that about Mike McCarthy. And, it's all about replacing and reloading the roster. You don't want to hang on to players that are just barely getting it done and that sort of thing. So I feel really good about throwing in Trayvon Diggs into this mix. How do you feel that he's going to fit into this defense, Mike?
Oh, he's going to fit in. I mean, the guy is a baller. I mean, the guy is relentless. He don't give up on plays. And I wouldn't be shocked if Trayvon Diggs becomes a real leader in this locker room in his second year in the National Football League.
He's a baller, but is he a shot caller?
Hey, to be determined. Like I said, on paper, he's a shot caller. But that paper needs to be utilized, and I'm trusting Mike Nolan and his defensive staff to go get that done.
Yeah. It was by all indications, this was a collaborative effort. And, hats off to the team really putting this thing together, Mike McCarthy put the staff together relatively quick, while the Senior Bowl was going on, so we couldn't really send any coaches down there. So everything else, is looking good on the up and up for this team, on the up and up. So moving on to the third round, Mike, we went in here and we took the player that we took, all right? And that is your boy, all right?
Neville Gallimore.
Yeah, Neville Gallimore. You brought him up on I think it was even the last podcast. I know he was on your radar there. So go ahead and expand on Neville Gallimore there, Mike.
When we first started opening the Frisco report and talking draft, Joe, the Baconator term is, I think we used it more than the Wendy's Cell Baconators, all right?
Yeah.
The big, fat, juicy meat sprung stopper. Gallimore is that guy, and to be there in the third round. I mean, this guy should have went in the second round, but he was still hanging on, right? And I'm telling you, this guy was the fastest guy in his weight class at the NFL Combine.
Yeah.
His first step, the way he swims around guards, his 4.7 speed, Joe, tracking guys like Russell Wilson down, collapsing that edge when you're chasing the quarterback, that angle. It's Gallimore. I would love to have Gallimore go back to the Rams in the playoffs a couple of years ago, because Gurley and Anderson, although they wouldn't have done this. Why? Because Gallimore is that type of Baconator. I mean, this guy is a force to be reckoned with. Offensive linemen need to know who this guy is and where he is on the field at all times.
Yeah. Yeah, we're talking about the defense, man, and they're getting a shot in the arm too. They're getting that big shot in the arm. So Gallimore, 3-tech. They're talking about having him be there as a 3-tech. So you gotta like the rotation there. You got a lot of defensive tackles in there now. We've upgraded the position significantly, with free agency, and now you're throwing Gallimore into the mix. So you really got to like that. And I think it's going to bode well for this defense. We're talking about our linebackers getting washed out a lot last season because of poor play from your defensive tackles. This year, I think you're going to see –
shut the door.
I think you're going to see these linebackers, excel, with a better play at the defensive tackle position. So I love it, man. I love that pick very much.
And I was talking to some other Cowboy fans about this. You want your second string, quote unquote, second string defensive line, your rotational piece. You want a guy like Gallimore to be behind Gerald McCoy. Maybe it's halfway through the season, because McCoy did sign a 3-year contract. Maybe it's for the whole season. Who knows? But to have that a fresh Gerald McCoy, a fresh Gallimore rotating, and Gallimore and McCoy are all down linemen. So, they're not going to be sub packages where, it's third and whatever, you got to put McCoy in, or if it's third and one, you got to put Gallimore in. These guys are all down linemen, and to keep them fresh and on the sideline drinking some Gatorade, then going in, going out, this right here is a healthy defensive scheme.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's I'm really pumped about this, to be honest, and I think getting the Baconator. We use that term because we had single one patty cheeseburgers, and now you look at the guys we have. We have the heart cloggers, who are clogging up that middle. It'll be hard to run on us, and guys that can get to the quarterback, legitimately. So
Mhm.
you gotta love it, man. You gotta love what they did here with defense back to back here on day two. All right, so day two, you leave the draft, you're like, man, yeah, Diggs, Gallimore, defense, baby. And then today, we get to the final draft day of the year, day three, rounds 4 through 7. We open it up with Reggie Robinson, the cornerback out of Tulsa. Mike, what's your thoughts on Reggie Robinson the second?
I mean, a special teams player all the way around. I mean, this guy can punt return. This guy can kick return. This guy could be that Jeff Heath replacement when it comes to, what kind of flank they're going to be on kickoffs, what kind of flank they're going to be on punt return. I mean, this guy really fills that void of Jeff Heath on special teams, but so much more when it comes to return and kickoff game. The guy ran a 4.44, Joe, at the NFL Combine. That speed, like I said last night, the Cowboys really haven't had a special teams unit since Dwayne Harris left. You put Tony Pollard, you put Reggie Robinson back there. Special teams just got explosive, and the versatility of where this man can play on defense, whether it's slot, tight ends. He can even substitute in strong safety if he needed to, free safety if he needed to. The guy's versatile. This guy is a Swiss Army knife, Joe.
Yeah, he's he's not a player that was really on my radar, and I had to go back and do some research when they made the announcement. But you go and you look at his measurables, and they're good size. They're good size for what you need in today's NFL, and he really these two picks of Trayvon Diggs and Reggie Robinson give the Cowboys a lot of leverage when it comes to 2021 free agency, the apocalypse. Jordan Lewis, Xavier Woods, Cheeto Wuze, they'll be free agents. So, barring some sort of miraculous, performances by these guys, it's hard to imagine that they'll be able to re-sign all three. Maybe not even two.
Right.
They might be lucky to get one of them out of it, and that's if they want to. So, a lot of leverage here with these guys, and it'll let them be flexible in next year's draft. So, man, these two picks getting ahead of what's to come. They'll be able to contribute. They'll be able to contribute this year, and then they're going to be big pieces to this new regime. We're talking about Mike McCarthy's players, handpicked in conjunction with the front office, obviously. But he's putting his thumbprint on here. These coaches have a different DNA. We're talking about Al Harris. I mentioned this earlier. He wants tough, scrappy players, no finesse crap, none of the bull crap. He's going to be in these guys' faces, teaching them the technique. He likes alpha dogs. He's an alpha dog cornerback, had a very good career in the NFL. He knows what it takes. He knows how to get into the heads of receivers and stay on them all game. So I think he's going to want to pass that on to these players and that sort of thing. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited for these young cornerbacks working with Al Harris and what Al Harris is going to bring to this defense. I'm really excited about all phases of this.
Yeah, it is exciting. It really is, and I mean the competition with Trayvon Diggs, and if you look, the Dallas Cowboys didn't get a corner 6 foot or under. Trayvon Diggs, Robinson, they're both 6'1", Joe.
Yeah. So there still seems to be those thresholds, and that's probably Will McClay and these guys. It's not necessarily were they gonna bring in smaller guys. I mean, it's possible they could have had smaller players on their board, but um, the guys that they got, they're pretty sizable, long arms too. So these guys have the wingspan, and you'll notice the pass breakups, deflections really stand out with these players. Okay,
Yes.
so moving on to the fourth round, we didn't have two fourth-round picks. The Cowboys traded their 164 fifth-round pick to move into the fourth round again, and they picked up the center out of Wisconsin, Tyler Biadasz. All right, so Tyler Biadasz out of Wisconsin, you and I talked about this as well. We talked about, would the Cowboys take a center? We didn't really want them to move back and get Ruiz in the first round. The Saints ended up picking him up, and he went in the first round, so he was a pretty good talent. But
Mm-hmm.
we did talk about this, that let's pump the brakes on this whole Connor McGovern. He's going to be the center talk. I, in the back of my mind, said, I don't know, man. I don't know if that's the plan. I just, something tells me that they want Connor McGovern to beat out Connor Williams. He's been dinged up here and there with the knee, and these sorts of things, surgery, and we didn't really see that jump that we thought we were going to see from Connor Williams last year. We talked about from going from a rookie to year two, and usually there's that significant jump, right? And
Right.
I don't feel that we saw that, and I feel that the Cowboys, that they wanted to make sure that they were going to have somebody in place. So for me, Connor McGovern, they want him to beat out Connor Williams, and that's why I think this move was made. Tyler was on the board, and I think Mike McCarthy had a pretty big influence on this pick here, and he talked about wanting to keep that offensive line strong and powerful, and he meant it, and he showed it with action here. Go moving back in with the Cowboys in tow and making the trade for Tyler Biadasz. What's your thoughts on this pick here, Mike?
Yeah. If you look at him on tape, and you go to Travis Frederick on tape when they're both in Wisconsin uniform, they almost look identical. And it's crazy. They lose the Wisconsin center. They go get themselves a Wisconsin center. Thank you to the Eagles for that. The last time the Cowboys and Eagles dealt anything in a draft was 2010 when they got Sean Lee, the general. All right.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool that the Eagles did us a favor and let us go get our center. And he mimics his game, from Travis Frederick. I mean, that was one of the things he kept saying is I mimic my game from Travis Frederick. And lo and behold, this guy's a Dallas Cowboy now. He was a 3-year starter, attacking in the Big Ten, Joe. He's flexible in his hips. He can take on double teams real well. So that communication there with Travis Frederick, McGovern, or Connor Williams, whoever's going to be there, the communication piece is going to be there. And, Zach Martin's very picky on who he works with. He gelled well with Joe Looney. And not having Travis Frederick on the team to help him is going to hurt. But guess who played a couple of years ago and started all 16 games? Joe Looney. Joe Looney can really help Tyler out very well, exceeding in the National Football League and potentially being the starter, Joe.
Yeah, magnificent job by the Cowboys and free agency bringing back Joe Looney. And yeah, Looney will totally, give him some mentorship. I can say he's a very funny guy, but when it's game time, very serious. So I like that, man. That's a good point. But I just love that they're keeping this offense fresh. Let's not let these guys die on the vine. I feel like your next upgrade is probably going to be at tackle at some point. Just because that's just what happens. Tyron Smith been in the league for a while now. He's coming up on 10 years almost, and that sort of thing. So something to keep an eye on, and something that I really like about McCarthy that I'm pretty sure that's already on his radar. So they're already probably looking at players coming up, obviously. And I'm not talking about, hey, we're going to kick Tyron Smith to the curb or anything like that. I'm just saying that as far as building a roster and protecting yourself from injury, you got to make these kinds of picks. And this,
Yes.
I think this really, really was a statement selection here. Like, okay, we're going to stay on top of you guys. We're going to keep bringing in the offensive line talent. And I love that. And you got a lot of money invested on that offense, so you might as well play at a high level. And I feel like the offensive line is still trying to find that high elite level from 2016. I think they've been trying to find that mix, and this might be what they need.
Yeah. No, great points, and I'm excited to see what this guy can do, and hopefully come in, win a starting position, and this offensive line picks up right where they left off. opens bigger holes up for Zeke and, gives Dak Prescott time to throw it to our new addition, CeeDee Lamb, and our 5-year contract new member, new member of this contract, Amari Cooper.
There it is, man. I love it. Cowboys move. Okay, the Cowboys get onto the 5th round. We only have the 1 5th-rounder pick, the very last pick of the 5th round, and the Cowboys strike gold here. All right, the jackpot. This was supposed to be in Las Vegas. This would have been the jackpot, the alarms and lights going off in the casino. All right, because for Bradley and I to fall here right into your lap, you don't even have to move. He literally, you just like you're watching the mock simulators where the names are coming off and your picks coming up. That's what it felt like. And I'll just watch like, come on. Maybe, so he fell there, man. And high production, another production guy. And I think, like I mentioned this, the analytical part of this is coming into play with Mike McCarthy. He mentioned it. They have a staff of analysts, and analytics has become a big part of this. So, these players scored high, when it came to the production and the numbers. All right. And Bradley and I, 30 sacks. 30 sacks. That's big time. And you're playing for Utah. That's a pretty sizable program. The conference that they're in, Pac-12, that's pretty legit. So playing at a high level, a lot of sacks. What's your thoughts on Bradley and I, Mike?
Yeah, Bradley and I, like you said, if this was Vegas, you're at the casino, the lights are going off, you're paying 30% in taxes because you just hit a big old jackpot. And I think the only thing that hurt Bradley and I and why he fell all the way as he did is because of a 4.9 speed. I mean, we talked about Gallimore, a 4.7 at 304 pounds. This guy ran a 4.9 at 257 pounds. I think that's the only issue with Anai here, Joe. But other than that, you talk about his 30 sacks. This guy, he has a motor. He don't give up on plays. And I'm really surprised that he was still there. And we talked about Anai last night. But when he gets off that line of scrimmage, the point of attack, once he gets around Joe, the offensive line, the left tackle, the guard, whoever's trying to double team him, they cannot keep up with him. He uses his length of arms to jab, to stab, and to get around that corner. And one thing I like about Bradley and I is he goes for the sacks, but his first instinct is to strip the ball out of quarterback's hands.
Yes, that's a good point, Mike. He does go for the turnovers, forced turnovers and fumbles. The other point too, man, is that he plays with violent intentions to harm you. You see him even in the Senior Bowl. Yeah, he got some good shots on Jalen Hurts and some of these other guys. These were legit shots on the quarterback. And this is how he plays. If he gets you in the open field, he's out there throwing these guys to the ground like a rag doll. So very powerful player, high motor. Yeah, and that's what it was, Mike. From what I'm hearing, he kind of got dinged a little bit on the timing. The 4.9, the measurables as well. He has 32 and 1/8 arm. Okay, and I guess they kind of had him as a tweener type. Was he going to be an outside linebacker? Is he traditional 4-3 end? What is he? So some of those things dinged him. But if you look at a player like D Ford, he had the same concern coming out. Obviously, he still went pretty early, but that was one of the things that they were saying about D Ford. Oh, he had the production in college, but he's got short arms. I feel like the short arms narrative is overblown a lot. It's if you can get there and you have the skill and the will to get there, you're going to get there. And that's what I see from D Ford. He shut that narrative down. I think that's what we're going to see here with Bradley Anai. That he's going to be able to get around, and the thing about these guys too, man. You think about Bradley and he's got to go up against Pro Bowl, All Pro players. We're talking about going up against Tyron Smith. The go-to goats. So it's a good way to learn, a good way to sharpen your skills. a good way to humble yourself and want to get better. So I love that pick, man. Leon Lett had good thoughts on these defenders. Gallimore and Bradley and I. So I'm excited for this pick, man. I think it's a hell of a steal in the 5th round. I can't believe he fell there.
I can't either. I mean, this guy was supposed to go in the 3rd round, Joe, and
Yeah.
here he is sitting in the 5th round, 34 overall, and the Cowboys are like, okay, we'll take him. and I mean, it's a jackpot.
It really was, man. This draft, if it would have been at Vegas, okay, it really would have fit the motto, the Vegas, everything that you think about Vegas. The slots, the machines, the alarms going off. I would say we hit it a couple times in this draft, man. Not to get but it went off with CeeDee Lamb. It went off with Trayvon Diggs. Gallimore was a good pick, and it really went off for Bradley and I. I mean, this was the jackpot of jackpots right here at the 5th round. I mean, that's crazy,
Oh, it really is, because when I was looking, last night's show, during the show and even after the show, I was looking to see who was left, and Bradley and I was like right there, just staring at me in the face, and I'm like, Cowboys got to find a way to get him. You talked about the center out of Wisconsin. You had a mock to us in our final mock draft right here on the Frisco report. So, that was a steal in its own.
Yeah, that's true, man. The other thing that we're going to talk about here, Mike, is that final pick. We didn't have any 6th round picks. The Cowboys didn't make any moves to get back into the 6th round. So there was a kind of a bit of a wait, between our 5th round pick and the 7th round. But the Cowboys did make a pick here, and they did take a quarterback, Ben DiNucci, out of James Madison. What's your thoughts on Ben DiNucci, Mike?
I was trying to gather as much information as I could before the start of the show, and I did find some. I mean, the guy's 6'3", 302 pounds. That's a good sized quarterback. I think that's the same height as Dak Prescott. And what I'm watching, he almost mimics and complements Dak Prescott. Read options. He can throw over linebackers. He can drop dimes over linebackers, but take that for what it is. He is a 7th round draft pick, but if he was an undrafted free agent, this man would have been a high commodity in the National Football League. And for the Cowboys to draft him, it says a lot, even in that 7th round, because they could easily take a chance on a special teams player, try to get him in here and work with John Fossil. So, Ben DiNucci, from what I've seen, he complements Dak Prescott well. I have questions with his footwork. I have questions with his vision. But guess what, Joe? We got a quarterback or a head coach that knows how to teach a quarterback. So, Cooper Rush, DiNucci, who's it going to be backing up Dak Prescott?
Yeah, it's an interesting take because, the other bonus that we're kind of getting out of this is the rosters are expanded now. So it used to be where, would you want to carry a 3rd quarterback, right? Now, with the new CBA and the roster expansions and that kind of thing, you can carry DiNucci now, okay? And you can develop this guy better. You can carry him with you and do more things with him now, all right? So that could be a little move there. Now, Mike McCarthy in the post conference mentioned that he reminded him of Mark Bulger, which I think is high praise. I think that's legit praise. Mark Bulger, he played with the Greatest Show on Turf, Kurt Warner and these guys before he got hurt. So he's very familiar with these type of game planning. If it's a West Coast or high potent offense and that kind of thing. To me, when I saw him, he kind of has a little bit of he's got some flair to him, like a Johnny Manziel. That's kind of what I saw from him. He can run around. He can play, the read option. He's got wheels. He can, get out the pocket.
Mm-hmm.
This guy could be a heck of a steal. And obviously, it's very early. We're just now taking looks at these guys, but he looked impressive to me, man.
There were some throws, watching him and trying to learn this guy real quick. where I was like, did he just put that over that linebacker with ease?
Yeah.
I really want to see what his arm strength is. I want to see him throw a Hail Mary to a guy like CD Lamb, and if we have a preseason game, I want to see how he works with some speed. I want to see how strong that arm is because there's something there. And Mike McCarthy wouldn't have drafted him if he didn't think so either.
Yeah. One thing that was mentioned on the show, on the draft show on DallasCowboys.com, they mentioned I think it was Hellman. He said that this Danucci actually was like at the right at the top on PFF's like number as far as a score. Accuracy, these types of intangibles. He was up there,
Really?
so that was kind of an eye opener. So like, wow, okay, maybe we got to steal from this guy. We'll see. But if anything, Mike McCarthy will be able to put his magic because you want to talk about the QB whisper. He is that guy. He developed players. He developed Matt Flynn, flipped him for good draft picks, and you know that's what you want.
Yeah.
You want to be able to develop and flip for picks if you can. If you have a franchise quarterback in place, do it. You know.
You got to do it. I mean,
Yeah. So that's a sneaky good little pick there. I think that's going to be fun to watch. Hopefully we'll be able to see these guys in action, man. If they don't, obviously with everything that's going on, we don't know if they'll have training camp, but maybe they'll do something for the fans where they'll televise training camp or things like that. You know what I mean? I think that would be a nice
right.
gesture. So it would be nice to see how they look in action at the pro level. All right. Getting into the latest news, Mike, on the undrafted free agents. All right. We know that a lot of these are consummated during the draft, overnight. They do unofficial handshakes that, hey, if you don't make it, you're going to sign with us. And Stephen Jones mentioned that in the post press conference. So right out the gate, they already had a lot of their targets, picked up. All right. And I'll go through this list. I got some of these from Bobby Belt. If you're following him on Twitter, he has a lot of these that come out. But the list here of undrafted signings are Stephen Guidry, the wide receiver out of Mississippi State. All right. So that's a good pick there. SEC player. He plays in that division. He's going to be something, to want to re-sign this guy real quick. And then you got Rondell Carter, the edge rusher out of James Madison. All right. So if they're already scouting Danucci, I think that's how they got to look at this guy here. From the same school. Rondell Carter, James Madison. Okay. Another one here. Siwo Alanulua, running back out of TCU. This is a player that they probably would have had for Dallas Day, coming out of TCU. We see the Cowboys do that a lot with these with the Dallas Days. We see a lot of the undrafted guys come from that TCU, SMU, Texas Tech, these kinds of guys. Another player they got, Garrett Marino out of UAB, the defensive tackle. All right. That's another one. Another edge guy they got, Ladarius Hamilton. He's out of UNT. So how they found him, probably from one of the local scouts, a little bit smaller of a program there. So, I think sometimes they do that. Sometimes the Cowboys will do that with their undrafted guys. They'll take flyers on some of these smaller school programs, and I think that's pretty cool. Francis Bernard, the linebacker from Utah. I think this might be one of the better signings, in my opinion. Like we talked about a little bit earlier here, Utah had a really good defense. A lot of players came out from the draft. Bradley and Lakey Fotu, Terrell Burgess. I mean, a lot of these defenders came from that really, really solid Utah defense. So getting Francis Bernard in this, I think it's a good little pickup there. Give us some more competition at linebacker. All right. Let me see who else we picked up here. Tight ends. We picked up a tight end, Sean McKeon.
Michigan.
Yeah, tight end out of Michigan. So picked him up, and that's good. I think it's good to kick the tires on some of these tight ends.
Yeah.
Aaron Parker, the wide receiver out of URI, another small program. Aaron Parker. They were looking at running backs, Mike, which was interesting to me. Cowboys visited with DeAndre Swift. He went early, and Hilaire. He went to I think it was the Chiefs' final pick, if I remember.
Yeah, that's true.
So it was very interesting that the Cowboys visited with those two guys. They had a virtual visit, so wondering what that was about. But anyway, the Cowboys added another one here, an undrafted free agent, Rico Dowdle out of South Carolina.
Yep, South Carolina.
Yeah. So a couple of these guys coming out. We talked about Rondell. We talked about Guidry. They picked up a safety out of Illinois State, Luther Kirk.
Yep.
Luther Kirk. And then they got another tight end. I'm not even going to try to say this guy's name. He's out of Portland State.
Yeah.
Charlie
Taopoyo.
Maybe.
I don't know how you say that one.
Tamapo. Maybe Tamapo. I don't know. But they got him. All right. Terrence Steele, the offensive tackle out of Texas Tech. That's another one. So, a pretty good mix of players. Undrafted free agents. They'll be in the mix. I'm sure somebody's going to, pop off, and there's going to be somebody falling in love with them like they do every year. Who will be the next John V. Johnson? Who's going to be the next Miles Austin? Because I say that because, fans, they fall in love with some of these undrafted guys, and they think the world of them, and then they don't even make the team at the end of the day, or they just make the practice squad, and you really don't ever hear from them again. So take these guys with a grain of salt. It will continue to change. This won't be the final list of the undrafted free agents. Some might end up getting cut, and they bring in somebody else, So,
yeah, I mean, that's true.
Yeah, that is true. And, we'll do a deep dive on these players. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, one thing, with the new CBA, and if they're going to expand playoffs and add a game, I mean, it's going to be hard to really fall in love with guys like, in here because they're really not going to get that much of a chance. And, that's why I was for keeping, 4 preseason games because, I mean, guys like Tony Romo, Miles Austin, Cole Beasley, they made their money. Terrell Davis, when he was with the Broncos, they made their money in preseason games. But, it's going to be hard to fall in love with these guys under the new CBA and all the changes they're going to be doing because a lot of these guys won't even get the chance.
Good point, Mike. Very good point. So that does it for the breakdown of the Dallas Cowboys. Instant reaction from the Frisco report. Covered all rounds and gave you the bonus there with the undrafted free agents. All right. So look those guys up if you want. We'll be doing that. Usually the undrafted guys, I myself don't have that much information on them. Rarely myself, unless it's somebody that I really, really feel should have been drafted and I kind of knew them. So with these guys, we'll study up and we'll do more deeper dive during the offseason. We got a lot of time here for the offseason to discuss these prospects further, how they're going to fit in, obviously. And the Cowboys said they're not done in free agency, so do the Cowboys do a 1-year deal for a Jadeveon Clowney? Like, there's still players out there, free agents. They looked at Kirkpatrick. He's still available. The moves that they moved, do they want to still bring him in here? Could he beat Cheeto Awuzie out? So lot to consider here. And this was in the press conference. Stephen Jones actually mentioned that. So He said, absolutely. They'll be looking at free agents after this now. Okay. But, the comments that we talked about, you and I talked about, Mike, to wrap everything up, certain moves that were not made were clues, right? So we talked about safety. They didn't draft one. So we talk about, okay, they didn't take one. They feel good about what they have in place. So, I think a lot of people are forgetting about Donovan Wilson. He's got his coach here. Mike McCarthy hired him to be the safeties DB coach. He's got, a direct line. He knows what this player is capable of. He had an outstanding preseason, 4 interceptions, and then, all over the place. He had a really good eye for the ball. So keep him in mind. I think that was a little clue. Um, what was the other one that we mentioned? The other one that we mentioned, Mike, was that there will be no reunion with Des Bryant, because
Mm-hmm.
now there just wouldn't be a way to fit him in.
Exactly.
I mean, just to be honest about it, I love Des Bryant to death, man. I'm supporting. I hope somebody does sign him. I think he does still have gas in the tank, but we got a new team here now. We got a new everything. So I don't see how that will fit into place. But those two
It's
items there are interesting. Mike, you got any final thoughts, man?
No, man. It was a fun 3 days. I can't wait for the 2021 draft, and hopefully we're picked number 32 next year. So it could be a little bit more of a challenge on who can fall to us. But CeeDee Lamb was a huge surprise falling to us at 17. But I mean, big shout out to Will McClay. I mean, last year, I think he redeemed, just on paper, he redeemed himself from last year's draft. I mean, last year's draft kind of was a disaster. I mean, besides Tony Pollard. There's a little cue card over there by McGovern to see what he does, but I mean, he was hurt all year. Jalen Jelks, what is he going to do? So I mean, Jalen Jelks has coming. That D line has a lot of competition, and I think just from last year's draft to this year's draft is just day and night different. Joe, there's a different feel. Why? There's a new coaching staff.
A new coaching staff, indeed. And the thing about it is, you feel the confidence in these interviews. You don't feel like you know that this has been a proven program. You can win a Super Bowl with Mike McCarthy's program. It's been proven, right? So
Right.
when you even watch Mike McCarthy in these post draft interviews, you can feel like, okay, I mean, this guy knows what he's talking about, man. It's not like when Garrett's talking, you're thinking, is somebody
The
feeding him
robot.
this information, or you know what I mean,
Yeah.
or does he actually know what he's saying? But that's it,
Let
Mike.
me ask you this, Joe. Let me ask
Yeah,
you one more
yeah.
question.
Go ahead.
How do you think the virtual reality draft went as an entirety?
It went well, man. It was a different feel. The only thing I didn't really care for were the amount of commercials. There was a lot of commercials, and but supposedly they broke records. People are chomping at the bit for anything sports related, and the NFL draft, I think, for 3 days helped quench that thirst.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it went well. Big shout out to ESPN, NFL Network, and ABC. I thought all of them collectively did a heck of a job for the fans at home during this pandemic. So thank you guys for that.
Yeah, that's right, man. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to all of our subscribers, everybody that follows. Make sure you give us a 5-star review and make sure to check us out. We're on Spotify, the Frisco Report. All right, we're on Spotify, iTunes. We're in the Google Play, and Podbean, who hosts our awesome podcast. The Podbean app is another way you can get to us. So pretty much everywhere you can get a podcast, we're out there. All right, guys. So we will catch you on Tuesday. We'll be back at our regular schedule. I'm really happy about our work that we did, Mike. Every evening we came out here and talked about the draft, previewing the next day. And man, I think we really knocked it out the park with our coverage this year. From covering Senior Bowl, Combine, talking about these prospects. A lot of these names weren't too big of a surprise because we kind of discussed it between ourselves, our shows, and our subscribers. They got familiar with a lot of these names. So you've been following us. You probably felt really good about this draft. Because a lot of these names should be familiar with you from what we talked about.
Yeah, ain't that crazy?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, man. I love draft season. So, But that's it, guys. Thanks for checking us out. We'll catch you guys next Tuesday night. Peace, everybody.
Yes, sir. Peace.